Welcome to Mr. Read's classroom. Today we'll be beginning our Improving Reading Comprehension series. This is episode 1. The Common Core State Standard that we will be addressing today is Reading Literature 5.2. Determine a theme of a story, drama, or poem from details in the text, including how characters in a story or drama respond to challenges or how the speaker in a poem reflects upon a topic. Also, we will summarize a text. This standard calls for students to identify the theme. Specifically, we will be focusing on a story today. And in order to determine the theme, there's a couple things we need to do. We need to be able to identify the characters in the story, the setting of the story, when and where is this story taking place, also the challenge or challenges that the characters encounter, and how they resolve those challenges. After we have determined those items, that will lead us to determining the theme. And we will put that information in a summary. As you can see, the standard says summarize the text. In that summary, we will identify the theme and the other items we mentioned. Moving on. Our learning objective for today. By the end of this lesson, students will be able to analyze text and will demonstrate this by constructing a summary of the text. Before we begin the process, we want to take some time to explain, one, the standard and the learning objective to our student. I have highlighted the important part or parts of this learning objective. First, students will be able to analyze text. That means that students will be able to complete multiple reads of the text and have a good understanding of what the text is about. And we will accomplish that through multiple reads. After we have completed those multiple reads, we will demonstrate that we understood what we read by writing a summary. And in that summary, we will identify the theme as the standard calls for. But before we can do that, before we can identify the theme, we have to complete a reading process. And that reading process is going to consist of 3 separate reads of the text. So once again, in episode 1, we will be addressing, in short, this standard. Reading Literature 5.2, identifying the theme and summarizing. So we will be doing 3 reads. Our first read, as we have stated here on our Word document, is what we call a code read. We complete a code read to get the gist. The gist is a basic understanding of what we read. So today we will begin with our first read of the story. That will be a code read. And during that code read, there will be no note-taking or any conversation during that read. We will read just to get the gist. So here is a code read. Finding a way. Riding the bus to school one morning, Carlos noticed a handwritten sign on the window of a food pantry. The sign read, "Food donations desperately needed." Carlos wondered what he could do to help. At lunch, he told his friends, Amina and Caio, about his desire to help the food pantry. Do you guys ever think about what it's like to be hungry? Carlos asked. Not really, Caio said, as he bit into a huge turkey sandwich, brimming with lettuce and dripping with sliced tomatoes. Besides his sandwich, Caio had an apple, 2 carrots, and a box of raisins. I guess I've never stopped to think that some people don't have enough to eat, Amina said. But how can we help? After school, Carlos helped his parents put away groceries. He told them about the sign in the food pantry window. Carlos's mom saw him eyeing the boxes of rice pasta and cans of sauces in the cupboard. She took out a box of rice. We can share some of our food, she said. That night, Carlos looked at the box of rice. He mulled over ways to accumulate even more food. Suddenly, an idea came to him. I've got it, he shouted. My social studies class could organize a food drive and get the whole school involved. The next day, he told his idea to his social studies teacher, Mrs. Gomez, who thought it would make a terrific class project. After the first bell, Carlos stood in front of the class and described the sign he had seen. Then he held up the box of rice he had brought from home. This box is just a start, he said. Imagine how much food we can collect if we hold a food drive. Carlos and his classmates went to work creating eye-catching posters and setting up a display table. By the end of the week, donated cans and packages covered the table and tumbled onto the floor. The food drive was a big success. Carlos had found a way to help people in need. And that is the end of our story. And there we have completed our first read. As we mentioned, our first read is what we consider a code read. There was no note taking. We did not stop to have any conversation. We just read the story from beginning to end to get the gist. That is the first of 3 reads. By doing these multiple reads, we are addressing that first part of our learning standard that we mentioned, that was highlighted, analyzing text. We are analyzing text through those multiple reads. So your student should read the text one time, or you could read it to him or her, but there should be no note-taking and no conversation during that first read. And now, we will be moving on to our second read. And in the second read, we are going to take notes and we are going to summarize the text at the end of that note taking. So to continue the process, you will have to join us for episode 2. I want to thank you for being here, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Thank you, and enjoy reading.